Ford sticks his foot in the ground, and that also speaks to the running style of Devin Neal. A patient runner typically makes that one stick in the ground and gets vertical.
Three-time All Big 12 running back, coming off back-to-back 1,000-yard campaigns. Jayhawks moving promptly on their opening drive after forcing a quick 3-and-out. At the Lindenwood 43, plenty of time. Daniels wants it deep, looking for Skinner, and he makes the catch, but he was out of bounds.
This is really nice by Trey Bell, the corner. Gets challenged early by Quentin Skinner. And a nice job by Trey Bell, not panicking, fights through a little bit of the back and forth with the hands. I think maybe it wouldn't have mattered ultimately because it's juggled, but that was a nice job by Trey Bell in coverage, not panicking.
Defensive coordinator Eric Inama really likes his two corners, really likes his secondary. Trey Bell and Jaden Patrick. Daniels double clutches, fires again, and through the arms, incomplete, looking for Luke Grimm. Eric Gant with the coverage.
And they love that slot fade to Luke Grimm. Let him get to the hash, work his way to the numbers. This ball was put on a dime by Jalen Daniels. Good coverage again on the back end, though, by this Lions defense. Challenged on back-to-back plays. Kansas comes up empty, now facing a 3rd and long.
Well, if Kansas fans were wondering about any type of rust, those first 3 throws right on the button. Kansas very good on 3rd downs a season ago. They'll stretch it to the field side, and Neal is cut down at the 37. Sanjay Strickland, the junior, able to come up and make the play, and undoubtedly 4-down territory.
And that call to me from Jeff Grimes speaks to something he talked to us about in meetings. He likes to go for it on 4th down, says he always has a play dialed up and ready to go. If Lance Leipold says we're going for it, that middle of the field spot, it's a good spot to go for it here on 4th and 3.
Grimes in his first year as the offensive coordinator, as you talked about, has always been one of the more aggressive coaches on 4th down. They'll load the tight end to the right. That's the direction Daniels wants to go. Little hitch, caught, spin, and yards after catch as Grimm is escorted out of bounds inside the red zone. Patrick pushed him out. KU converts on 4th.
Great pass and catch to Luke Grimm, but the unsung hero is 47, right in the middle. Look at Jared Casey. They run a pick play, but it's clean because Jared Casey avoids that defender. If he makes contact, that's going to be offensive pass interference. That's a nice job by your veteran tight end and Jared Casey getting Luke Grimm open for the 4th down conversion.
Year 4 for Lance Leipold, and he has watched as Jayhawks move the ball inside the Lindenwood red zone. Right at the cusp of it, just outside the 20s, where they're going to mark it. Split backs, both Highshaw and Neal in the game. Grimm on the near side makes the catch, and another 1st down. Ethan Stolzoltz and the Jayhawks cooking on their first drive of the season.
Seeing a little bit of everything on this opening drive for Kansas. Another staple of this offense. You saw Luke Grimm get all the way to the wide side of the field. This offense truly uses every square inch of the field, tries to put stress on the defense in different positions.
And they are one of those teams that puts so much stress on the defense with their pre-snap motion. They are just constantly moving guys around. 1st and goal, little jet sweep action running to the boundary side. This is Doug Emilian. He'll pick up 5. Devin Edwards, the team captain, in on the stop.
And Sean, you just hit on it. Anybody that's not familiar with this Jayhawks offense, you will see motion and shifting on almost every single play. Some of it's just window dressing, trying to get the defender's eyes to be undisciplined, go in different spots. It really is on almost every play, it feels like, for this offense, you're going to get some sort of movement, either motion or shift.
Daniels 3 of 5 on this opening drive for 33 yards. They will go right up the gut with it, practically untouched. Devin Neal, touchdown.
Right where they left off from a season ago. They have both their captains on the offensive side, Jalen Daniels and Devin Neal. And Devin Neal punches this straight down the gut for an opening touchdown and a drive that I know offensive coordinator Jeff Grimes and Lance Leipold are happy with.
Tabor Allen won a tightly contested kicking battle here in the fall camp. And Allen splits the uprights. Jeff Grimes, welcome to Lawrence, and literally tonight, Kansas City. This is a sight the Jayhawk fans are certainly familiar with. Neal finding the pay dirt. KU fires the opening salvo. Offense rushed for 32 touchdowns a season ago. That was second most in school history. Devin Neal had 16 of those a year ago, and you see him just keep creeping his name up that list. And questions coming into this season opener, that offensive line, that first drive, they passed the test.
They were right on schedule and even had to go through a fourth down conversion. This is about as simple as it gets. Bring Jared Casey across, have the lead blocker from the tight end, fullback hybrid that Jared Casey is, and Devin Neal follows the lead blockers. A really sound opening drive from the Jayhawks.
So a little more than 5 minutes in, Kansas on the board first. And we will get our second look at this Lindenwood offense. Keep in mind, this Lion program, a very, very young Division I program. They made the move from Division II to FCS just a couple of seasons ago.
Well, their head coach, Jed Stugart, talked to us about this transition. He had been through this before, brought them from Division II up to FCS, and felt like they were much different in terms of their roster this year. Brought in some key transfers that are starting for them, and certainly in the 2D, but make no mistake about it, it is a difficult transition going from Division II up to FCS, and this is their first ever FBS opponent.
From the 25, they will give it to their big back, Cortez Jones, and he does not have much space. DJ Withers, who the coaches just raved about in our meeting, they said he by far has had the best fall camp of anyone.
They said he was most consistent by far, and said they were excited to see him turn it loose on Saturday. Hope that he would practice just like he played and getting a glimpse of it early.
Robinson and Miller, the two rush-ins. Dunn and Withers, the two interior tackles. Glance on Corks, and a beauty. Sliding catch is made. That's Abe Hare, the junior tight end. And the Lions move the sticks for the first time.
And fell right into that slot. Cover 2 defense, trying to throw the corner route. And a nice job by Nate Glantz. This ball's on time. Beats it in there before all-conference cornerback Kobe Bryant can get a paw on it.
They go trip slap. They set up that quick screen on that side. Not a lot of room to work as Reese Thomas is driven out of bounds by Jalen Dye.
This was a quarterback battle. Nate Glantz coming in, had to beat out the incumbent. Tyler Kubat played some last year along with Carter Davis. This is a quarterback, and Nate Glantz has a lot of experience between his multiple stops.
Offensive coordinator Dusty Hovorka really loves his competitive spirit. Keep in mind, this was a roster coming into the summer that Glantz arrived early in the summer, so he missed all of the spring. They had 2 roster spots open up in the spring, so they went out, they targeted 8 quarterbacks. Glantz was the top guy on that list, and it took a while, but they finally were able to communicate with him, sell him on Lindenwood, and they have fallen in love with him right away. Again, a 4-man rush, and the pass is caught, and a first down at the 43. Reese Thomas beating Mello Dotson, and back-to-back first downs for the Lions.
Second time they've targeted Reese Thomas on a third down. This time he comes up with it, and they challenge Mello Dotson, the other part of the two-headed monster at corner on the outside for KU between Kobe Bryant and Mello Dotson. They feel like these are the best corners in the conference and maybe college football, and right now Lindenwood's going right at them.
Well, a special moment for Reese Thomas, who started his career as a walk-on at Kansas. A couple of catches in this first quarter. Speaking of a couple of grabs, Abe Hare with his second catch. Lost the ball late, but they're going to say he was down.
Go back to Mello Dotson, and this is true no-fly zone. 16 interceptions combined between these two. They were voted preseason all-conference on either end, so the league agrees these are the best two corners in the Big 12.
Bryant's 9 career picks, currently second most among returning FBS cornerbacks. Second down and 7. Glance, a deep drop, wanted to go down the field, now fires and nobody open as he throws it away. Drew Crobath was the closest receiver, and now you look at this part of the field. If you're Lindenwood, you're scripting a couple of plays to get these 7 yards.
Absolutely, this is 4-down territory. Make no mistake about it. Try and get this back to something that's manageable. 4th and 2, 4th and 3. Still haven't seen all-conference receiver Jeff Caldwell on the outside. Do they try to target him, line up in the slot, try to go to him here on 3rd and 7?
Kansas brings the blitz. They set up the screen. One man to beat, but staying home was Dotson. It looked like the Lions had it set up. The blitz was dialed, but Dotson with assignment football.
You had it exactly right, Sean. Mello Dotson, for as good as he is in coverage, he is a physical corner as well. Sheds the block on the outside from Jeff Caldwell, comes up and makes a critical tackle. We'll see here, decision early for the Lions. Do they keep the offense on the field and go for it?
Kansas will certainly make a case, and they would have a lot of backing. The combination of Bryant and Dotson, maybe the top cover corner duo in the country. Lindenwood is going to let this clock wind down. They want some time to think about it. Jed Stugart using his first time out. An impressive bounce back drive after we saw Kansas march the football down the field.
The opening possession on that 3-and-out from Lindenwood, they wasn't for a drop, would have had at first down there. So for Lindenwood, you have to be excited about to the first part in the game. Some of the things that they talked about, pieces that they wanted to see early, they've clicked, moved the ball into KU territory. Big decision here now, the fourth down upcoming.
Timeout in the action, 5:42 to go, opening quarter. Kansas with the early lead. On ESPN Plus on a muggy Thursday night. Week 1 of the college football season. Kansas ranked number 22 in the land. Quick 7-0 lead that last time out. Dusty Havorka, the offensive coordinator, trying to script up a play to keep this Lion drive alive. They need to get it to the 32. Steve Hall is checked into the game for the first time. He flanks Glance to the right. Hare, the tight end, to the right as well. 3 receivers left. 4th and 5. Pressure off the edge. And they get to him. Dunk back at the 45.
Right off the left side of your screen, Dean Miller. He just beats Gavin Hewlett. There was no shot. Or Nate Glance trying to scramble up at the last second, working to the field side, but never really had a chance. Dean Miller, somebody that they bragged on to us as well in our meetings, gained the weight that he needed to in the offseason. Felt like he had put in the work through summer and through camp, had a solid camp, and it shows up there on 4th down for KU.
A position that they were able to generate so much production from last year with Austin Booker, who led the Jayhawks in TFLs and sacks and was the 5th round pick of Chicago. Forced to check down on 1st down, and Grimm pulls a Houdini as he dodged the missile and falls ahead, a gain of 8.
The shallow cross concept this KU offense loves. Try to get Luke Grimm in space. If it's in zone coverage, they'll sit it down if they feel like he's running to get covered. Does a nice job there finding the soft spot in the zone.
Grimm has been active here in this opening quarter. Already 3 catches for 34 yards. Keep in mind, he had his best season of his career back in 22 when Daniels was healthy for 9 games. They stretch it wide. Skinner as a flag flies. Skinner then lost the football late. Lindenwood says they have it. Let's see how the officials are going to rule this. Still no indication as our officiating crew gathers. Luke Richmond, our referee. See him in the center of the screen talking with Jed Stugart. Let's listen in.
Holding. Offense. Number 47. That penalty's declined. Running on the field is a fumble. Recovered by the defense. Lindenwood.
So the Lions and this defense come away with the takeaway.
It sounds like the delay was having to go to Coach Stugart and say, do you want to decline the penalty and accept the fumble? Take another look at it here. Still up. And a great job. That's an effort play on the back end by Ethan Stolzatz. I think they're going to take another look at this. But from our look here, it looked like Quentin Skinner was still, knee had not touched the ground. Watch 20 on the right side of your screen.
That is going to be really close. And again, the ruling on the field is a fumble, so the question becomes, is there enough indisputable video evidence to overturn it?
Now, this will be a good look at it right here. It looks like that right knee is still not down as the ball starts to move. And Sean, you're exactly right, because this was ruled a fumble on the field. Lance Leipold, I think, got a look at it on the Jumbotron. Maybe he disagrees. It looks like this call is going to stand and be Lindenwood football.
A Lindenwood defense last year that had only 9 takeaways. That was a priority coming in to this new season, and now Kansas is going to use the timeout.
First of the half, be a full timeout.
So the Jayhawks take the timeout. What a job Lance Leipold has done with this program. Year one, he went 2-10, and ever since he has put this program in full throttle, and what they have been able to accomplish, appearing in the preseason AP Top 25 for the first time since 09. They were in both polls in the preseason this year for the first time since 08. Coming off a season that saw them win 9 games and then the bowl victory against UNLV.
There's been so much momentum built up by this program, really the most since the Todd Reesing days of 2007 and 2008, but an unbelievable job by Lance Leipold and his staff. And it's not just the key pieces that we've talked about, that the superstar is the name you know. It's the depth all the way down. This roster, he talked about it this week, roster is built different. They move different. They've got key pieces all over the field.
So Kansas taking that last timeout after the change of possession. So Lindenwood and this offense will go back to work. Steve Hall with his first touch, a quick hitter over the left side, nets 4. Cornell Wheeler, one of the captains, in on the stop.
Steve Hall, another one of the backs that this offensive staff bragged to us about. Freshman in the 2-deep. He told us he would get snaps. Said he's a really smart back and catches the ball well out of the backfield as well.
Good look at Hall, the 5'9", 197-pounder. A youngster, a true freshman from St. Louis. Second down, and right back up the middle they go. And this will set up a 3rd down. The Lions tonight, 1 for 3 on 3rd downs.
Feels like they're following the script, just like we expected, trying to run the ball effectively on 1st and 2nd down, get this the 3rd and medium. In an ideal world for Lindenwood, you're talking about several play drives that chew up time, eat clock, and limit possessions on the other side for Kansas in that offense.
Glance with defenders around. He will tuck it and run and pick up the first down. Good pocket presence by Nate Glance, and he falls ahead to the 33 and a third down conversion.
And recognizing by Nate Glance, you don't have a ton of time right now. We saw a minute ago on the fourth down sack from Dean Miller. Nate Glance recognizing, got an opportunity in front of me, get vertical immediately, pick up that first down.
Off that RPO, Glance lost it, and a fortuitous bounce comes right back into his lap. That could have been disaster.
They go RPO, gets the pull read, gets on the outside, and for a second it looked like this may have been incomplete. But no, he really does. Gives that pump fake, fumbles, and just like you said, fortunate for Lions fans, able to immediately fall back on the football.
To wonder if this hot and humid night will play an impact as far as the ball handling as we go deeper into the evening. Another first down run over the right side, Steve Hall.
There haven't been chunk plays to this point in the game in the first quarter for Lindenwood. But if you notice on first and second down, there's no negative plays going backwards when they run the football. They are picking up positive yardage, 2 and 3 yards at a pop, and doing exactly what this staff talking to us about, making sure that they avoid those third and long situations.
Very disciplined first quarter as well. No penalties either way. The Lions nearly doubling up Kansas on time of possession. And just as I say, the discipline, we get the game's first flag.
False start. Offense. Number 5. 5-yard penalty. First down.
John Anthony always drives you crazy when a receiver on the outside is the one that jumps. Supposed to have the eyes back inside. Like you said, first penalty that's been accepted in this game so far.
Each team squared away, 4 first downs apiece. Kansas right at 100 yards of offense. Lindenwood with the 59 yards. Approaching 90 seconds to go in this opening quarter. Play clock down to 1. Glance just did get the snap away. Running for his life. Robinson had him by the jersey. Now a little flip as he gets it out of bounds and incomplete. Good job there by Glance. Robinson was the first one putting on the heat.
And Glance goes to the line and checks to this play. Doesn't like it to the field. And Sean, you said it. This looked like this was going to be a disaster. Heady play by Nate Glance to just get rid of the ball and avoid taking the massive sack.
Robinson, one of the returning starters up front for Kansas. In fact, those 6 tackle for losses, the 4.5 sacks, a team high among the returners. Again, using all of that play clock. Glance over the middle, and it's stripped at the last second, knocked away, incomplete. Cornell Wheeler getting his hand in there in the nick of time.
There's a captain on the defensive side. Cornell Wheeler squatting on this hitch route, does a nice job. Oh, wraps around the receiver to avoid the pass interference. That's somebody that this defensive staff talked to us about is finally getting his chance. He's battled injuries. It's another guy that has put on good weight. They feel like has really bought in, and they're excited to see him be featured in this defense.
This crowd on the old soccer pitch turned football field tonight, making some noise. Little floater. Hall has to wait for it to come down, and when it finally arrived, KU is ready. Demarius McGee, the backup corner, the junior. The LSU transfer, and a 4th down for Lindenwood.
And Nate Glance does the right job, does a good job, finds the right receiver here to his back out of the backfield in Steve Hall, but saw the blue jerseys rally to the football there. It's a good job of team defense by Kansas.
Trevor Wilson awaiting the punt inside his 20. Turner, and that one might have been tipped as KU came after it, and this one wobbles out of bounds at the 42-yard line. 17 yards on the punt. Excellent starting position for the 22nd ranked Jayhawks. Daniels in this offense ready to go back to work. One of the offseason changes for Kansas was that they brought in longtime veteran offensive coordinator Jeff Grimes. Joined this Kansas program in December, and look at the success that he has had throughout the year. Spent his last 3 years in Waco, and talking with him last night, the trickiest part for him, even with all of his history and all of his experience, was learning the vernacular, the terminology in place here by KU.
Well, all the pieces that were in place for Kansas already, Jeff Grimes said, look, it made more sense for me to go in and learn their terminology instead of the other way around. So a little bit different than normal, but so far in this game, other than a turnover, doesn't seem like there's been any issues in this offense clicking.
First down, this will be Daniel Highshaw with no room to go. Solid opening quarter by Stolzholtz, who's one of their leaders, the second team All-Big South Ohio Valley Conference player from a year ago.
And Highshaw, running back, just adds to that depth in that running back room. We've talked a lot about, and deservedly so, for Devin Neal. Daniel Highshaw behind him, over 600 yards on the ground a year ago. You'll see him in the Wildcat as well.
Give some credit to Lindenwood on the road, playing their first ever FBS opponent, hanging tough with Kansas. The Jayhawks out to a 7-0 lead. The return of Jalen Daniels after 291 days away. Wheeler in this defense making some plays. Neal with a touchdown run. Jayhawks by 7. From the west, you see some of the faithful, the fans of Kansas, and how about legends in the house? George Brett, baseball Hall of Famer with the Royals, and his remarkable career, enjoying this Thursday night, opening night of college football week 1. Kansas with the powder blue tonight, kind of resembling the Royals, what they have went with often with their attire this season.
A nice job in the interior. Tajay Passmore, it's a hand up there with a deflection, forcing a 3rd and long. Sean, we talked about it off air. I thought that was a perfect opening drive for Lindenwood, all things considered. Chewed up a lot of clock. Obviously would have hoped that they could have capitalized on one of their offensive possessions, but dominating the clock, doing well on 1st and 2nd down on offense as well. See if they can get a stop here on 3rd down.
Grimm in motion. Daniels looking at him the entire way, and it's picked off by Trey Bell. A breakdown in communication and an easy interception for Bell, and the 2nd takeaway for the Lions.
And it's a miscommunication between Jalen Daniels and Luke Grimm. He thinks he's running a comeback on the right side of your screen. 11, Luke Grimm keeps running. You see him still running vertical, and a nice job by Trey Bell. Eyes back to the quarterback, recognizes ball's coming out, makes a play. And 2nd turnover in the first half for Kansas. They've moved the ball effectively, but credit Lindenwood, the 2 opportunities they've had to create turnovers, they've capitalized.
Bell, the sophomore from Baldwin, Missouri, Parkway West High School, saw extensive action a season ago, and he has built off that experience. A couple of really nice plays made in this first half. And now the best starting position of the day for the Lions. Glance gets rid of it quickly, and the first touch on the evening for Jeff Caldwell. And Caldwell thrown down late along that Lindenwood sideline, but no flag. This is a guy they need to get going in this first half.
Absolutely. We thought we'd see a little bit more of him in the first quarter. This is an all-conference receiver, and really the biggest bright spot for Lindenwood on the offensive side of the ball. Big frame, and they want to get him going in this game.
Caldwell coming off a season in which he caught 32 balls. Missed some games as well with an injury. They get right back to him, and an excellent open field tackle by O.J. Burroughs.
I loved in O.J. Burroughs' bio, he talks about how his favorite player growing up was Allen Iverson, because they're both undersized, and he doesn't play like it. Watch him come down, trigger on this shallow cross, make a big play and force a 3rd down. Nice open field tackle from O.J. Burroughs.
Burroughs arrived in Lawrence at a whopping 165 pounds. You mentioned that size. Really developed into one of the top safeties. And a timeout will be utilized here
Charge, timeout, Kansas. Second and a half. Be a 30-second timeout.
So a timeout is taken. Don't forget, week 1 of the college football season continues on ESPN+. We have 6 games coming up on Saturday. The action starts at 2 o'clock Eastern in Stillwater. That's where we'll be, and this is going to be a terrific one. The 2-time defending FCS champion South Dakota State Jackrabbits ready to take on number 17, Oklahoma State. Then at 2:30, it's Towson and Cincinnati kicking off. Action continues in the night with UT Martin and Kansas State, and then Baylor hosting Tarleton, Abilene Christian, Texas Tech, Southern Illinois, BYU from Provo rounds out a busy opening Saturday. Out of the pistol, 3rd down. They wanted to set up the screen. They come back to the opposite side, and Caldwell could not bring it down. Excellent job there, Taylor, by the rush in. D. Miller sniffing out that screen.
That was a good job there. I also think Jeff Caldwell may have heard footsteps a little bit. Taiwan Berryhill barreling down on that screen. I think you saw Jeff Caldwell not look the ball in. He had his eyes on number 6, Taiwan Berryhill, and a good job by KU's defense, bailing out the offense, getting off the field, forcing a 3 and out.
Do you like the field position decision made by Lindenwood here?
I do, from this part of the field, and especially not only the part of the field, but backed up a little bit at 4th and 6. Be different if this was in that 4th and 2 or 3 range.
Turner with a little squib punt, end over end in heavy traffic. Wilson fair catches at the 16. It's a punt of 29 yards. 13:34 to go, first half. Kansas by 7. Devin Neal with an early touchdown run, but that has been it so far for Kansas. The Jayhawks with a 7-0 lead. Lance Leipold during that last time out really trying to get the attention of his team. You see what they have done on their last 2 possessions.
Well, it's just been frustrating on these last 2 possessions because they've moved the ball well, especially that second one. 2 plays, 35 yards, but it resulted in a fumble and then had the interception a second ago. Just need to clean up their process and obviously the turnovers as well because they've moved the ball fine. Daniels
4 of 8 for 41 yards. Keep in mind he had a couple of drops on the opening drive. Has not run with the football so far in this first half. Devin Neal with a touch. Gets a yard or 2. We both watched Lindenwood and a lot of film getting acclimated with this program, and the linebacker stood out. You saw Devin Edwards come up, make that last tackle. Stolzholz has some experience. They're really high as well on the junior Sanjay Strickland.
Well, and they've also got some key pieces they've brought in the portal as well. Ashton Russmeyer came over from Arkansas State. He's a starter in the center as well. And they talked about it with us. They feel like they added these key pieces that they needed in this transition to FCS.
This is Grimm again, that duck move, able to avoid defenders, and yards after catch for Luke Grimm. Jaden Patrick finally able to corral him, and now for the first time, Kansas is going to go a little tempo. They pitch it to the short side. Look at the patience, and now the explosion. One man to beat. Neal with a cut. The last line of defense. Trey Bell. The explosive play. They go tempo, and Neal delivers.
And that's the side of the offensive line that we talked about. A little bit of inexperience. You get a hat on this play. Nobody's left unblocked. And a good job by Devin Neal. Sticks his foot in the ground. I liked Jeff Grimes' style on that last play. Getting to the line, going quick with tempo. And good job making somebody miss in the hole. Talked about Ashton Russmeyer a second ago. Devin Neal gets him on skates in the middle. First big chunk play we've seen from Devin Neal.
55 yards on the run by Neal. Excellent kick out block by the guard Kobe Baines. Talked about that right side of the offensive line.
Lindenwood, second and a half.
And Lindenwood is going to use a 30-second timeout, so we'll keep the action here.
The left side of the offensive line, just like you talked about, Sean, that's really where some of the staples in this offense. Bryce Cabledew moved over from the right side to left tackle. Michael Ford there as well. But Bryce Foster at center, Kobe Baines, Logan Brown, these are pieces that some of these guys with a lot of experience. Bryce Foster, 28 starts at his time at Texas A&M. But at Kansas and in this new scheme, they still weren't sure. Ultimately, are we going to see multiple guys in this game that sort of rotate through that right side? Really comforting if you're Jeff Grimes to see that big run play pop to that side.
You mentioned Bryce Foster. He was a big get in the offseason, 32 starts at Texas A&M. He really came on late in fall camp to win the job. They brought in Shane Bumgardner, the transfer out of Tiffin. There's some talk that maybe Michael Ford Jr., their experienced guard, would have to play some center, but because of Foster, he's back at his more comfortable right guard, left guard spot. Highshaw with a surge over that right side, picks up 7.
Watching Highshaw on tape, such a natural runner and really just a gifted athlete. Played quarterback in high school as well, and that's why we talked about you'll see him run the Wildcat as well. A year ago when Jalen Daniels was hurt, they leaned on this running back room quite a bit between Devin Neal and Daniel Highshaw.
On second down, cutback lane is there, and then Highshaw is popped. What a hit by Stolzholz.
Now, Stolzholz has been the bright spot on the defensive side for Lindenwood. Watch on the left side of your screen. Boom! Right there. And honestly, a little bit surprised, Sean, that we didn't see targeting called. That was one of those hits when you see the head pop back like that. Those are, in the modern era of college football, I've seen more and more of those get called for targeting. But, man, Ethan Stolzholz has brought a physical presence for Lindenwood early in this game.
Big hit for the junior from Wichita, Kansas. Started his career at Butler Community College. Now Highshaw trying to use his speed toward the pylon, and he'll be just shy as Highshaw steps out at the 1. Man, when he turns it into that second gear, you see how quickly he can get to the outside.
Well, here they go back, just like we talked about in Wildcat. And I like that he's decisive, realizes I've got the corner, try to get to the pylon, thought he may try to extend the ball. Smart play not to. How many times do we see somebody go to do that, reach the ball out, and ends up being a fumble? Let's see if Kansas can punch this in for first and goal at the 1.
See Jared Casey limping his way into the H-back position to the right. 2 tight ends in. First and goal. They hand it off, and for the second time in this opening half, untouched for 6 goes Devin Neal.
As a tone-setting drive by Kansas, coming off the 2 turnovers, all of that production marching down the field, running the football right at Lindenwood for their second score of the game for Devin Neal. Wash down on the left side, about as easy as it gets for the all-conference captain, Devin Neal.
A Kansas offense that was top 10 in the country in running the football a year ago. Pretty much all the pieces are back as well. A combination of Highshaw and Neal on that last drive, and then you throw in this offensive line. Kansas ups the ante. Jayhawks by 14. Offensive coordinator Jeff Grimes had seen enough after a couple of possessions, back-to-back turnovers. He says, all right, we'll put my guys up against yours and run the football.
Now, he challenged clearly that offensive unit. Did exactly that. Said, we're going to run the football right at Lindenwood. 7 of those plays on that, 6 on that last possession, keeping it on the ground, and they add to Devin Neal's career. 2 touchdowns so far in this game.
Key play on that last drive, the 55-yard run. Lance Leipold breathing a little bit easier after that long scoring drive for his Jayhawks. Up 14 despite the 2 first-half turnovers. Strong leg once again of Tabor Allen as he sends it through the end zone for another touchback, his third touchback of the night. All right, Taylor, Lindenwood right now down 14. This is an offense that at times has moved the football. Really no need to panic, no need to change much from what they've done so far.
It goes back to, again, staying on schedule, and I know we've harped on that already, but getting Cortez Jones going and picking up those positive 3- and 4-yard clips on first and second down is so important. And then at some point you have to hit a shot over the top to Jeff Caldwell.
They stack it up 2 by 2 on this first down from the 25-yard line. It's the tight end in motion. Cortez Jones picking up 2 yards. Jones brought in a big mid-year get for Lindenwood. Physical and size is really what he brought to the table, something the Lions lacked in the backfield a year ago.
And it also doesn't surprise us, right, that Lindenwood is going to the ground this frequently. The strength of this offense is the offensive line. 4 of 5 returning. Their captain in the middle, Ethan Johnson's been a 4-year starter. See if they go back to the ground here on second down.
And they really are high on their left tackle, Gareth Warren, big number 78. That's the side that they're trying to find any type of daylight on, but there was nothing. Mello Dotson lending support from the secondary.
Defensive coordinator Brian Borland catching on, obviously, that Lindenwood's going to continue running the ball on first and second down. You're seeing a lot of blue shirts close to the line of scrimmage, man coverage on the outside, daring Lindenwood. You're going to have to beat us throwing the ball beyond the line of scrimmage. 3rd and long, obvious passing down here. Does Brian Borland dial up pressure and try to get after Nate Glantz again?
Glantz, timing pattern, picked off. See you later, pick 6. Mello Dotson.
That's a dangerous man to throw a field comeback against. And if you're not absolutely sure as a quarterback that Mello Dotson isn't in off coverage, I don't recommend throwing it. Mello Dotson squatting on this the entire time. Nate Glantz, the timing's fine, but Mello Dotson is there all the way. Reads this perfectly, triggers on the football, pick 6. All the momentum now on Kansas side.
Off the crossbar for Tabor Allen.
One of the preseason all-conference players on the outside for Kansas shines early. Pick 6 for Mello Dotson. 20-0 here in Kansas City.
Mello Dotson certainly has a nose for the football and a nose for the end zone. Last year, 4 interceptions, 2 of those pick 6s back-to-back weeks against Oklahoma and Iowa State. The first Jayhawk to return picks for touchdowns in back-to-back games. And now in the opening half, game 1 of the season, Dotson with the 33-yard to the house.
They've lived up to their reputation between Kobe Bryant and Mello Dotson. I say it again. That is a dangerous proposition to throw a field comeback against Mello Dotson.
You look at it for Lindenwood, and this is a simple game. They stay on schedule. They avoid those risk throws. Things go all right for this offense, as we saw for a good chunk of this first half. But the moment you get in those 3rd and longs, you push, you press a little bit, and against the secondary, they can make you pay.
Kansas did a nice job on that last drive on first and second down, shedding blocks, limiting Cortez Jones, Steve Hall, really not allowing them to get beyond the line of scrimmage. They are going to have to figure out a way to run the ball effectively on those early downs.
12 carries, 27 yards as a team here for the Lions, and another dangerous throw, and this one incomplete. Glantz fortunate as Burrows jumped the route.
And O.J. Burrows comes down on Reese Thomas, throwing that hitch again to Reese Thomas. They've gone to it a couple times, and you saw from Nate Glantz hits just a second, and that delay almost caused back-to-back turnovers.
These receivers sitting back a little bit, not coming back to the football, allowing these Jayhawk defenders to get some arms in. They stretch it wide. Jones, the big bruising back, escorted out of bounds by Marvin Grant. He is a load. Jones at 6 feet, 245 pounds.
This offensive staff talked to us about how he was a vocal leader as well. They felt like they really needed that in that room. Has stepped in, done such a nice job for them. Another third down opportunity. Jeff Caldwell, top of the field, top of the screen. Do they target him, try to get him involved on third down?
They set up that little tunnel screen action and just nothing there. Cornell Wheeler had it read beautifully, and a 3-and-out for Lindenwood.
I'm not sure it would have mattered even if he had caught it clean, but Nate Glantz catches the ball, bobbles it a little bit, and then tries to get the ball out. Nowhere near Jeff Caldwell. Now we're seeing a little bit of what we expected from this Jayhawks team, finding a rhythm, come off the pick six, now a 3-and-out. Get the ball back to Jalen Daniels in this offense.
Fourth punt of the night for Patrick Turner. 26 yards a punt so far. Keep in mind he had one blocked earlier. This one he gets away, and it will hop away from Mr. Wilson. Punt of 37 yards. So a game where Kansas was leading 7-0. They put together that 85-yard drive. Then the defense gets in the act, and all of a sudden, all the momentum right now with KU.
I'm curious, if you're Jeff Grimes, do you go back from their last offensive possession, just continue running the football? Do you continue to try to set that attitude? They go two backs here, Devin Neal and Daniel Highshaw as well.
Daniels looking over a four-man front, play fake. He'll throw on the run, sideline pattern. It's caught. Skinner tight roping the Lindenwood side, and a first down catch.
Going on the field is an incomplete pass. Second
So
down.
they're going to say his foot was out of bounds, so incomplete.
Get another look at this. This just goes to show the arm strength of Jalen Daniels. Field comeback to the left, harder for a right-handed quarterback. And look at zero at the top of the screen, Quentin Skinner. I thought maybe that left foot came down. I'm not sure if he bobbled this from that angle, and from our view, looked like that was a catch.
Skinner, one of those receivers who's just getting back to full health. He was slowed during the midway point of summer camp with an injury, and one of that key cogs on the outside. The trio of experience was Skinner, Arnold, and Luke Grimm.
Just go back to that throw again. Those are the things that you miss when you don't have Jalen Daniels on the field. That is a difficult throw that he put on a dime, right on the money. Realized it ended up being incomplete, but it just speaks to, again, what a dynamic player he is and how important he is to this Jayhawks offense.
Daniels, the play fake, wants to take a shot. Grimm is out there, in stride, touchdown, Kansas.
It took him a little while to get warmed up. The Jayhawks are rolling now. This is max protection up front. Just two people in the concept, and Luke Grimm, the captain on the outside, wins over the top. On the left side of your screen, again, just two people in this route. And this is just pure speed from Luke Grimm, and a great throw from Jalen Daniels for another touchdown.
Luke Grimm has been targeted frequently in this opening half. 5 catches for over 100 yards. Daniels with the soft touch.
Max protection, both tight ends in the game, Trevor Cardell and Jared Casey. And they just go right at Jaden Johnson on the outside. It's really a mismatch with a safety over top of Luke Grimm, and Kansas makes him pay for it.
Take a look at the three-headed monster for Kansas. So much experience. All of these guys in that same class in which Jalen Daniels came in, Grimm, Arnold, and Skinner. Weapons galore. You factor in the running game with the 1-2 punch of Neil Highshaw, the return of a healthy Jalen Daniels, and you see why people are excited about this offense.
And I loved what Jeff Grimes told us about those three. He said they just keep getting better and better because they push one another. They come to work with the right attitude every day. They want to see each other get better. And they know in this offense with Jalen Daniels at the helm, there's going to be plenty of love to go around. They're all going to get their touches. And so far in this game, I think we've felt Luke Grimm's impact the most. Big touchdown there on the shot play.
Lindenwood right now looking at a serious uphill climb. This game has got away from the Lions on the road here, their first ever meeting against an FBS opponent, just their third year as a Division I program. Jed Stugart knew his squad would face a lot of adversity throughout the course of this one, and he was so anxious to see how will they respond. The growing process, part of that transition. Cut back there by Hall, and he's tripped up as Wheeler got a hand in.
There was a running lane there and a great tackle by Cornell Wheeler. I thought that was the first opportunity. We may have seen Lindenwood pop one. You mentioned it. Cornell Wheeler gets a hand on it. Just a 2-yard gain.
Late shift by that defensive line on second down, and they shifted the right direction. There was no avenue to be found. Wheeler once again in on the stop along with Keenan Caldwell.
Keenan Caldwell wins in the interior, beats his man at the point of attack. Another 3rd and long from Lindenwood. Look at 97 right in the center. They shift down. He ends up at a shade right over top of the center. Moves Ethan Johnson, the center, off of him, makes the tackle.
The Lions with only 10 yards of offense in this second quarter. Glantz will try to change that. Steps into the throw, and it's caught. Abe Hare, the tight end, and a first down, something positive for the boys from St. Charles.
That's the second time they've gone to Abe Hare with that corner route. The two biggest plays we've seen in the game from Lindenwood on the offensive side have been that exact same concept. Abe Hare running that corner again. A nice throw from Nate Glantz. Fits this in between the corner and the safety for a big first down conversion.
31 yards on the completion. Hare with his 3rd catch. 17 games played over the last couple of years for Hare.
False start. Offense. Number 5.
Penalty on Lindenwood after the first down. Second penalty of the night for Stugart's bunch.
I think it's the second time it's been a false start on John Anthony as well.
So after the penalty, it pushes it back to the 47. 1st and 15. Glantz off his back foot, lobs it to Steve Hall, and he is met right there. Point of attack by J.B. Brown. And you talk to Lance Leipold, you talk to defensive coordinator Brian Borland, they are really excited about the flexibility these linebackers have playing all 3 positions.
Well, Cornell Wheeler, which we've touched on as a captain, J.B. Brown, their leading tackler, returning. Also Taiwan Berryhill, a guy that they said, look, he's technically not a starter in the 1 deep, but he feels like a starter to us. They feel like they've got a lot of depth in the linebacking core.
Brown, one of those downhill linebackers, you know it when he brings that punch. 2nd and 14. Pocket collapsing, and for the second time, Glantz is dumped back at midfield. Jeremy Robinson able to get the quarterback.
One of the returning starters on this defensive unit, right side. And he beats Gareth Warren, the best offensive line guy that's on the Senior Bowl watch list on that left side. Nate Glantz holding the ball a little long, putting his offense in a bind here on 3rd and long.
Each in with a sack. Miller and now Robinson, and they nearly got to him again. Shoestring catch made by Hall, but well shy of the first down. Jason Gilliam with the tackle. Miller had the heat on Glantz.
And it was Dean Miller again off that right side. These defensive ends are pinning their ears back. Nate Glantz doing everything he can to just get the ball out. Really a great play by Steve Hall to even catch this. But on those 3rd and long situations, that's a quarterback's nightmare and it's a tackle's nightmare. You know these defensive ends are coming after you. Sound like a broken record, but for Lindenwood, they have got to stay on schedule and avoid those 3rd and long situations.
Rugby style of punt, and this one will be downed inside the 10. Nice job there by Patrick Turner and the special teams unit, as they will ping Kansas deep. It's a punt of 41 yards. Well, Taylor, you look at Jalen Daniels, his return to the Jayhawk lineup tonight. How would you grade this first half?
Well, the obvious mistake being the miscommunication on the comeback, has the interception. Other than that, I think it's been a pretty clean first half for Jalen Daniels. I also think they haven't asked him to do a lot yet. They've run the ball really effectively. The completions to this point, with the exception of Luke Grimm over the top, have mostly been close to the line of scrimmage.
Working from the shadows of his own end zone. Man, he can throw it. He whips it out. Passes caught. Skinner up ahead to the 30. It's a gain of 25 yards. Such a quick release in the velocity.
And recognized immediately that corner Jaden Patrick from Lindenwood was squatting down. They turn loose Quentin Skinner, and it's a hole shot where you've got to put it on your receiver right now. Really nice job by Jalen Daniels diagnosing that.
Uncorks another strike. This time it is Grimm with the sliding grab. They'll move the chains. A pickup of 11. Back-to-back throws, resulting in back-to-back first downs. They pitch it to Neal, boundary side. This is the play that he ripped off a 55-yarder earlier in the half. Keep in mind, one of the new rules in college football this season, the 2-minute timeout. So clock will stop here shortly. Kansas trying to get one more play off before that timeout, and they'll be able to do it. And it's Neal with some room. Devin Neal cuts up ahead to the 31. 18 more yards. A touchdown saving tackle by Devin Edwards as we reach the 2-minute timeout. So Kansas rolling in this second quarter. Neal has the Jayhawks on the march. All Kansas, primetime Thursday night in KC. $20 unanswered points here in the second quarter by Kansas. The Jayhawks with 317 yards of offense. Kansas after the 2-minute timeout at the 31-yard line. Trevor Cardell in motion. They set up the screen. Again, working that boundary side. Good job there defensively by Lindenwood to sniff that out. Edwards and Stolzoltz. Plenty of time. KU with the 1 timeout remaining.
That's been a theme tonight, hasn't it? Kansas focusing on that short side, especially in the run game. I think that also speaks to your ability to block on the perimeter, because it gets so tight and condensed to that short side. They've done a nice job both in the screen game and running the football.
Second down give. This is Highshaw through a little crevice, and he is tripped up as a flag is down at the 20. Jordan Kanapke coming in, one of the sure tacklers on the back end. Flag in the vicinity of a hole.
Holding. Offense. Number 54. 10-yard penalty. Second down.
It's big number 54, one of their experienced players up front, maybe their top lineman, and Michael Ford Jr.
Just get the hands a little bit outside that defender trying to escape. It's an easy call for that back judge.
Ford, one of those players with 3 starters on that offensive front wall gone. He has stepped up, more of a vocal leader. Pick up the blitz. Daniels, I think, touched for the first time in this first half as he is knocked down. The pass falls incomplete.
And every Jayhawk says hallelujah. The Jalen Daniels pops right back up. It was really the first time, I think, in this game, Sean, that he's actually been touched. I know that's a sigh of relief for all Jayhawks fans that have been concerned about his health for a long time.
Came out of the gates flying a year ago. He was the preseason Big 12 Offensive Player of the Year and was impressive in the first 3 games before the back helmet sidelined him the rest of the way. Third down give. It's Highshaw looking for the sticks and then some. Keeps his balance, runs over a defender, and finishes the run down to the 4.
Some unbelievable balance at the point of contact from Daniel Highshaw. I thought he was going to get tackled right at about the first down marker. And look how many yards after catch he picks up here. Boom, right there, fighting through tackles. Strong running from Daniel Highshaw.
Highshaw with 61 yards rushing. Neal with the 2 scores in this first half, already over 100 yards. Keep in mind this drive started back at the Kansas 5, and Highshaw driving and surging near the goal line will be a yard shy. Keep in mind the Jayhawks as well have a timeout to use. Clock continuing to wind down. 25 seconds. Second and goal. Highshaw trying to find the end zone. Propels his way ahead. No word yet. They're going to say no, denied. Right in front of the goal line. Clock continues to tick down. Kansas and their coaching staff calling the timeout.
See if we get another look at it. I thought from that angle, he kept that right leg off the ground. Sean, I think from our vantage point, that looks like a touchdown. I'm not sure what part of the body hit the ground.
On the field is the runner.
That's the hand,
short of the goal line.
the
previous
elbow
plays
that
under
touches the
further
ground.
review.
He keeps the right leg off the ground, extends the ball out. To me, this is a touchdown.
Yeah, I agree with you, partner. Jeff Grimes over to talk to Lance Leipold. They're going to go upstairs, and Daniel Highshaw, along with 19,000 plus, thinking this is going to be 6.
Absorbs the hit initially, and again puts that right hand down, which is legal so long as the shin and the elbow don't touch the ground. Long before that right knee hits the ground, I think he extends the ball over for a touchdown. We'll have to compare the 2 looks. I'm not sure we have one right down from the referee's vantage point, but regardless, to me, I think there's clearly enough on that angle that this is a touchdown.
Let's listen in to Luke
After further
Richmond.
review, the runner was up, and the ball crossed the goal line. It's a touchdown.
The response of Rock Chalk Jayhawk says it all. Touchdown, Kansas.
An impressive 2-minute drive with just under 3 minutes to play as they went from inside their 5-yard line, virtually the length of the field, for another touchdown. You take away those early turnovers in this game, it's been effectively a perfect first half from this Kansas offense.
And how about the clock management by Kansas on that drive as well? Working with the 1 timeout, they take it 95 yards. A terrific second quarter, one in which the Jayhawks have just flat out dominated. And after a 7-0 lead after the first quarter. This thing has been blown wide open.
Oh, these last 10 minutes or so of the second quarter, I think that's what we've all come to expect from Kansas. Their ability to run the football whenever they want to, running it into the short side. This offensive line that a lot's been made, especially of that right side like we've talked about. The challenges and some of the new faces implementing them into this offense. They've answered the bell. And again, if it wasn't for those 2 first-half turnovers, this has been really the exact start to the season that Lance Leipold and his staff would have wanted.
This Kansas roster loaded with 30 seniors. Just an experienced unit, and a lot of these guys have arrived on campus with a season like this as their ultimate goal, to lay the bricks and mortar, to get this program turned around with the arrival of Leipold and deliver what they're hoping will be the first Big 12 championship in program history. Jalen Daniels with a touchdown pass. He's thrown for 148 yards. This rushing attack has been unleashed already. Over 200 yards on the ground. Lindenwood will take a knee and look to regroup at the intermission. 358 to 107 as far as total yardage goes. The first of 2 games to be played here at Children's Mercy Park. Kansas is away from home with the remodeling at Memorial Stadium back home in Lawrence, and the Jayhawks for the first time in this soccer pitch, this location, putting on a show for their fans. 34-0.
Fast start on the opening drive with the touchdown, stalled for a little bit with the turnovers, but saw some of the superstars flash in that first half. Devin Neal with a big first half, the pick 6 from Mello Dotson. Some of the usual suspects that we expected to have impacts in this first half have certainly shown up, and for Lindenwood, just trying to stay on the field more consistently. Obviously, when they were clicking some in that first quarter, picking up first downs, limiting possession for Kansas on the other side.
Kansas out in front here at the half. A couple of rushing touchdowns for Devin Neal. This Jayhawk offense clicking, and then Mello Dotson a pick 6. Kansas pitching the shutout here in KC. An opener for both Kansas and Lindenwood, the first ever meeting between these two, and it's all Jayhawks behind a dominant second quarter. 34-0 Kansas out in front here in Kansas City. Sean Kinney alongside Taylor McCarg. A lot of anticipation, Taylor, coming into this one for KU. A number of reasons, but most importantly, number 6, Jalen Daniels, back under center, assess his first half.
Well, it's hard to be upset about much when you're up 34-0, right? Outside of 1 turnover from Jalen Daniels, the interception, and it was clearly a miscommunication. I thought it was exactly what you'd hope for if you're Kansas. You kept him upright, he didn't take too many shots, he played well, operated within the system, and really the running attack, as long as they can run the ball effectively like that, they're going to steamroll everybody really moving forward the rest of the season.
Devin Neal, back-to-back 1,000-yard seasons, and he has picked up where he has left off in his career, and that is just picking up yards and chunks, already over 100 yards in this first half.
Well, and they've done it in a number of ways, right? Some of it was between the tackles. They had the stretch zone to the outside. I thought they came right out on this first possession. This was the opening drive. Between the tackles, he's run the ball well. Some of this to the boundary side. We've talked a lot about that as well. And this is exactly where he left off from a season ago. There's a reason he was second-team all-conference in the Big 12. He's a staple in this offense. And I thought if they could continue to run the ball well, not only with him, but everybody else behind him, including Daniel Highshaw, this is a potent rushing attack, and it doesn't seem like they've missed a beat.
Neal able to rip off the big run of 55 yards. He was able to get those tough yards in between the tackles. You mentioned Highshaw coming on in that last drive before the first half. Kansas 210 rushing yards, a top 10 rushing unit from a year ago, and they are certainly getting the job done as they were expected to do against this young Division I program from Lindenwood. 34-0, Kansas with the lead here at the half. We'll be back with more from Kansas City as halftime rolls on right after this. This is the Big 12 on ESPN Plus on a hot and muggy night from Kansas City. Kansas Jayhawks away from Memorial Stadium in Lawrence all season because of renovations, and they have certainly acclimated to the new surroundings tonight. 34-0, they lead it over Lindenwood here in the first half. Taylor McCart, you look at Jalen Daniels, a triumphant return to this Kansas lineup. This offense just quite frankly different when he's out there healthy.
Through his progressions, he was on time and accurate, hit the one shot over the top on the post there that you see to Luke Graham. And I think the one thing in the second half, don't expect to see a lot of him, but moving forward, they go on the road next week to Illinois. How much more do they open up the playbook? Really didn't ask him to do a lot in that first half, and certainly didn't use him much in the quarterback run game, which we did not expect to.
Cole Ballard, who was thrust into action last year when Jason Bean went down. Kansas turned to Ballard in some key moments, and the young redshirt freshman picking up some valuable experience, getting a pep talk along the sideline as we're anticipating to see a freshman here on this opening drive. As the Jayhawks on the return take it out to the 15-yard line. And indeed, it will be Cole Ballard, the 6'2", 220-pounder, the redshirt sophomore out of Westfield High School in Indiana. He was a third-string walk-on last year, but he entered the spotlight. Jason Bean exited the Texas Tech game. He played in 4 games, really looked good in a couple of those games, especially against Kansas State.
And he is a tough quarterback. He comes in that game, like you mentioned, against Texas Tech and didn't flinch at all. Brings a physicality and a toughness to the quarterback position.
On first down over the right side, the first touch of the night for Savion Morrison, junior from Tulsa, Oklahoma, who started his career at Nebraska.
For Cole Ballard, came to Kansas as a walk-on, has earned a scholarship since then. And again, his time a season ago against Texas Tech and then against Kansas State as well. What impressed me most was just looked fearless on film, did not flinch, felt like he stepped in really naturally, and they found themselves a really solid backup to Jalen Daniels here in Cole Ballard.
On second down, a design draw, and a lot of space opens up as Ballard gets catapulted up into the air. And a first down gallop out near the 35-yard line. Knappe taking him down low.
It didn't take long to see some of the physicality from Cole Ballard. Simple quarterback draw. I think very fortunate there to not have been banged up on that left leg, but adds an element to the quarterback run game as well that, like we talked about, we didn't expect to see a lot of Jalen Daniels running the football, going to it early with Cole Ballard.
Ballard on the bootleg throws, and a wide open Lawrence Arnold. Arnold with his second catch of the night. Ballard showing the ability to throw off the run.
Well, he really had 2 options here. Leighton Cure, tight end in the flat, and then on the over route, Lawrence Arnold comes open. Good accurate throw to Lawrence Arnold, who is another solid option. They feel like really good in contested catches, and easy when they're on the over route for the first down.
So good start here by Ballard on this opening drive. Talking with Lance Leipold, he said this is a young man that just needs to continue to develop understanding on when to take those chances and when to live to fight another day. But because of that attitude, he said he's one of those guys that was accepted so quickly by the locker room. In fact, accepted by his teammates maybe as fast as anybody that Leipold has been around throughout his years, starting at Wisconsin Whitewater to Buffalo and then eventually here in Lawrence.
Yeah, it just goes back to, again, the depth that Lance Leipold and his staff have built up to, and add that to Savion Morrison from the running back spot, stepped in the 3rd spot behind Devin Neal and Daniel Highshaw, another guy that they're really high on.
Ballard can take off if he wants to, and that's exactly what he does. And he's shouldered out of bounds by Vincent King. King, the transfer from Northern Colorado, and a late flag. This will cost the Lions 15 yards.
After the play, personal foul, unnecessary roughness, defense, number 9, 15-yard penalty, automatic first down.
And just a hair late from Vincent King, right as Cole Ballard stepping out of bounds. But I like the decision making from Cole Ballard. They do the delayed roll, sprint out to the right. It's not there. Make the smart decision, get vertical, and pick up the first down.
A little more than 3 minutes into the start of this third quarter, and Kansas already inside the red zone. They go with their big package, couple of tight ends in. Skinner in motion. They will hand the football off. Hitting the hole hard is Morrison, and he is wrapped up at the 11. Tackled by Devin Edwards.
Morrison redshirted a year ago. I think this may be the fastest, just in terms of top end speed. He may be the fastest of the bunch for this running back room. And that third option is the guy that they will continue. They'll be able to lean on him as the season goes along. It's tremendous depth again from the running back room. Devin Neal, Daniel Highshaw, and Savion Morrison.
Third year in Lawrence for Morrison after spending a couple of years in Lincoln. Second down and 3. Again, this will be Morrison trying to get to the outside, and he is corralled by Vincent King. We talked about King coming in from Northern Colorado, and there is certainly a connection with the state of Colorado all the way down to St. Charles, just because of the coach's past and the history and the connections that they have built in the Rocky Mountain area. Jed Stugart trying to find some answers defensively to start this second half. He knew this was going to be a tall order. Year 3 of the transition and a matchup against a top 25 opponent. Over that left side, good push by the offensive line. And a first and goal for Kansas.
Been a very clean drive from Kansas coming out of half. A handful of backups in the game. You worry sometimes. Similar to the struggles with the first team and those turnover issues, what can you expect out of these backups? But early in this third quarter, stayed on schedule. Good decision making from Cole Ballard and running the football efficiently from Savion Morrison.
Constant movement by Kansas, back and forth. They line up Casey to the left, lowering the pads is Morrison. And he'll be tackled at the 1. Again, it is Kanapke, a Northern Colorado transfer, coming in with the hit.
We see Leighton Cure check into the game. Like we may have a 3 tight end set here. Would not surprise me. Keep this on the ground. The Savion Morrison for Kansas, try and punch this in.
Neal with a couple of touchdowns tonight. Highshaw has a rushing touchdown. Will Morrison add his name to that list? No, at least not right now. Good job there by the Lions. Matt Barnett closing the hole, setting up third and goal.
And Lindenwood bowing up here at the goal line. See if Kansas goes back to it on the ground again. Third and goal from inside the 1.
Bryce Foster, the big center, the Texas A&M transfer. Let's see if they run right behind him here. Everybody in the box, third down and goal. Morrison this time will plow his way. Touchdown, Jayhawks.
Really a statement coming out of half. Again, a lot of guys that did not get snaps in the first half featured on that drive. A good opening possession. Cole Ballard, a heavy load of Savion Morrison, capitalizes in the end zone, open things up in the third quarter. coming right at you again. They 3 carries in a row inside the 5-yard line, and this time Savion Morrison finds pay dirt.
11 plays, 85 yards, little more than 6.5 minutes off the clock, and Savion Morrison, who only ran the ball 10 times this season ago, he touched it 8 times on that drive alone. Touchdown KU. Savion Morrison grew up watching a lot of Adrian Peterson. That's why he wears number 28. He looked like AP finishing that last run to cap off a long drive for Kansas.
It was a heavy load of Savion Morrison, several touches on that drive coming out of the half for Kansas, and did not miss a beat. Some of the backups coming in. Good, efficient opening drive from Cole Ballard as well, stepping in at quarterback behind Jalen Daniels.
Tabor Allen with the approach. Strong right leg and another touchback for Allen. Lindenwood and Nate Lance in this offense out onto the field for the first time in this third quarter. And you look at the coaches, all headlined by Jed Stugart, year 8, and he brought his coordinators from Sioux Falls with him. This is a group that has a lot of continuity. They have been with each other for a long time, and they know what it's like to take a program up a notch. They had to do it at Sioux Falls. Back then, it was NAIA to Division II. He navigated those waters beautifully, and now here at Lindenwood, they get ready to make the move. Year 3, Division II up to Division I in the FCS level.
A good carry again from Cortez Jones. You're exactly right, Sean. The challenges of going up a level, they've gone through this before. There's one of the things that jumped out to us when we had our calls with them, with offensive coordinator Dusty Oborka and defensive coordinator Eric Inama. Just this staff has been together for so long, 8 years combined together for those 3 and some others on this staff, and that's just not what you see so often in college football, where guys move around so frequently.
Lance keeps it about a yard shy of the first down. So Stugart led Sioux Falls to back-to-back Division II playoffs in 2015 and 16. He was the national championship runner-up in the NAIA level in 2010. Then following Sioux Falls, he made the move to St. Charles. Spent some time at Mid-America Nazarene earlier in his career, an assistant coach at Northern Colorado, also UNLV in his early days. Third down and short, and a good job there by Jones. Despite some penetration by that front line, he was able to dodge his way and pick up the first down. We mentioned Mid-America Nazarene, less than 20 miles away, very close, so very familiar with these parts, and he's been in this stadium in the past. Talked about the unique opportunity to play in front of a sellout crowd against a Big 12 opponent. First and 10 at the 36. Lance will take a shot, a rare shot downfield. Caldwell up the escalator, and he is cut down by Kobe Bryant.
First time tonight we've really seen the deep shot to Jeff Caldwell. Thought Nate Glantz had him a little earlier if he wanted to, held on that a little late. Good to see Jeff Caldwell get up on his own. Throwing over the middle of the field, Jeff Caldwell upended, hands right on the head. Again, glad to see him pop up and jog off the field.
Second down and 10. Quick throw, and the catch is made, but paying the price. It was Reese Thomas. O.J. Burrows actually dislodged the ball, incomplete. They are headhunters on the back end. We've seen some hits from the Kansas secondary tonight.
Well, they have keyed in on that inside slot hitch from Reese Thomas. A couple times now, they've gotten him in that position, and O.J. Burroughs has done a really nice job dissecting it, reacting, and getting downhill. Almost had an interception earlier. This time, blows up Reese Thomas and forces the incompletion.
Caldwell still trying to get his bearings after that hit by Bryant a few moments ago. 3rd down and 10. Lance looking against a 4-man rush, trying to buy some time. Double clutches, now lobs, and the pass is caught. Jones out of the backfield makes the catch. And for the 3rd time tonight, Lindenwood onto the Kansas side of the field.
And that piece of Nate Glance's game, it's some of what made him so effective at his time at Iowa Western when he was in junior college, and the bright spots that he had a year ago at McNeese State, making plays happen off script. Does a nice job moving to his right, keeping his eyes downfield, finding the open target, and picking up a 1st down.
Showed flashes last year at McNeese, actually started their first 6 games. Heading into this season, he was going to be one of 7 quarterbacks competing for the starting job at McNeese, so he hit the transfer portal late.
For a medical stoppage for number 1 of the offense.
Stopping the action here. Couldn't quite hear what our referee Luke Richmond explained. So Jeff Caldwell checking back into the game. He's going to be sent back to the sideline.
You saw Jed Stugart point to his head as Jeff Caldwell going off the field. I wonder if they were called down for potential concussion protocol after that hit over the middle a minute ago.
Yep, had to be that. The call coming from upstairs, so good job by our officials up in the booth to spot that. Player safety. Dangerous throw. And did they get a foot in? No, out of bounds, they say. Burroughs could not drag a toe.
O.J. Burroughs all over this. Lindenwood's trying to hit wheel route up the sideline. Watch number 5 come downhill right now. Reacts to it, jumps in front of Drew Crobath. Almost comes down with the interception, lands just out of bounds.
Lance tonight, 12 of 23, 100 yards, the 1 interception. 2nd down and 10, wants to set the screen, had to wait a little bit longer, and that's because J.B. Brown had that play read. He was there just waiting for the opportunity.
Whether it's been slip screens to the running back or tunnel screens outside of the receivers, Kansas has done a nice job all night, reacting, shedding blocks, and making open field tackles like you saw right there.
Brown made the seamless transition from the MAC to the Big 12 after beginning his career at Bowling Green. Key component up the middle for this Jayhawk defense. 3rd and 13. They get rid of it quickly. Again, it's Jones. Nowhere to go. Shreds 1 defender, but forward progress stop. And a 4th and 12 for Lindenwood.
Nate Glantz is doing everything he can to try and get the ball out of his hands quickly. But it feels like every time, regardless of whether or not there's a completion or not, see blue jerseys rally to the football. Offense still on the field, and here comes the punting unit for Kansas, getting a stop there around midfield. It's the first time we've seen Lindenwood move the ball effectively in a while, but stalls just past midfield.
Trevor Wilson with the fair catch. 2nd time tonight that Patrick Turner has pinned Kansas deep. Series number 2 for Cole Ballard and the Jayhawks in control from Kansas City. What a unique location for tonight's action to be a spectator. Everything's so close on a pitch, so the fans are always right on top of the action. So for a lot of these fans, both from Lindenwood and Kansas, opportunity to get up close and personal and just really appreciate the speed and the power of this game.
And how about give a shout out again to the grounds crew for Sporting KC. It was just 2 nights ago they had a U.S. Open match here on this field and a quick turnaround. They're hosting obviously this game tonight for Kansas, but that's a unique venue. I think it's perfect for these first couple out-of-conference games. This one tonight against Lindenwood and against UNLV.
Listening facility overtaken by the crimson and blue tonight. Kansas in this uniform look, the powder blue, to start this season. First down and bouncing through would-be tacklers, and a good carry up past the 20-yard line. It's Johnny Thompson Jr., the redshirt freshman from the West Coast, California, Oaks Christian School. Opportunity for some of these young running backs to get a taste of action. Anticipating on seeing Harry Stewart III as well. First down play, a little bootleg action. Pass is caught up ahead to the 27-yard line.
That was Mac Moeller coming across, sort of in the same spot that Luke Grimm would have been in, like a lot of bootlegs. Get him on the shallow cross, coming across, and a good job by Cole Ballard again, making the quick decision, accurate throw, get this to second and short.
But all Ballard here in this third quarter, 2 for 2 throwing the football, 29 yards, plus he's added 20 yards and a couple of carries. He'll go right back to the air, a little short underneath route. Trevor Cardell with the catch, tackled immediately by Ethan Stolzholz.
That's another guy that this offensive staff talked about being really high on. It's Trevor Cardell, athletic, good frame, 6'5", 250 pounds, and it's a tight end room. Still trying to figure out. Got a couple different pieces. Trevor Cardell, obviously Jared Casey, that's been around a while. Everybody knows about his 2-point conversion against Texas a couple years ago. And then Leighton Cure also in that tight end room. Seen some of him as well.
Do you anticipate the role of the tight end to change much? Last year they had the security blanket and Mason Fairchild, and now you talked about the trio that KU will rely on heavily at that position.
I think it's the difference now is you've got two different body types between Trevor Cardell at 6'5" versus Jared Casey, that's really more of a route runner. They use him some in inline blocking, but you notice in short yardage, when it gets down close to the goal line, that's where you see a couple different pieces check in. Trevor Cardell comes in the game, Leighton Cure as well. Also saw Jaden Ham in those short yardage situations as more of a fullback. So they kind of use the tight end in a few different pieces, whether it's a pass catcher, inline blocking, or like a fullback.
Second down give over the right side, and a big hole opens up, and a first down for Johnny Thompson. Getting a look at some offensive linemen that are still fighting for a spot in that starting lineup. Darrell Simmons, the transfer from Iowa State, opening up a hole, along with Shane Bumgardner, the center that they brought in from Tiffin.
Shane Bumgardner was somebody that they mentioned to us, regardless of what happens in this game with Bryce Foster coming over. They thought that we would see Shane Bumgardner as well. And that right side, like we talked about with Jeff Grimes, offensive coordinator, it's a work in progress. And the starting five today, in a perfect world, sure, they play all however many games together. There's the potential that you rotate some of these pieces in non-conference.
Ballard, patient, throws a strike and then a hit, and a flag will fly. Tremendous concentration as Wilson hauled it in, and then Eric Gant coming in with the big hit. And how about the toughness that Wilson showed over the middle? He knew he was going to pay the price.
And did a great job working back to the football as well. Was covered up initially. Cole Ballard, the nice throw as well. We'll get the call here.
Personal foul, targeting, defense, number 39. The previous plays under further review.
Take a look at the crown of the helmet. That's the piece we're really focused on. It's helmet-to-helmet contact. Also looks like Eric Gant does drop that head. Though it looks like that angle there, the left shoulder more as the leading point of contact. This will be a really good angle. Watch the left shoulder and the head. I don't know, Sean, after another look at that, especially that angle, I don't know that that's targeting. I think it's a violent hit. There's no doubt, but I've got that more Eric Gant doing a nice job trying to lead with the shoulder. Would not be surprised if this one ends up overturned. I don't have that as helmet to helmet, and I wouldn't consider that targeting, because the other piece, Eric Gant doesn't lead with the crown of the helmet. We'll see if it stands.
At the further review, the ruling on the field of targeting is confirmed. Number 39 of the defense is disqualified. It's a 15-yard penalty at the end of the play. Automatic first down.
Targeting a defenseless player, the receiver over the middle, forcible contact to the head and neck area, and the indicator was that launch. Even though he got him with the shoulder, it was that head neck area. I know you don't like it, but
I'm
the rule
just not
of the law,
sure.
I think it would fit into that.
I'm just not sure if you're Eric Gant what you're supposed to do. If you can't lead with the shoulder, you make contact, you avoid hitting with the crown of your helmet, and you're still called for targeting. The counter to that is, well, I guess you let him catch the ball, get to the ground, and then you make contact. Hard to play DB. I do not jealous of anybody that has to play defensive back anymore.
15 yards. See a lid pop off. Eric Gant disqualified for the remainder of this game, along with the first half of week 2 in the secondary. And it's Johnny Thompson who lost his helmet. A couple of helmets coming off. Jamison Kemp as well as he sprints to the far sideline. And that will bring us to the end of the third quarter. A Thursday night here in Kansas City. The Jayhawks march to the fourth in control. Welcome back to Kansas City, where the Jayhawks are playing their season opener at home for the 22nd year tonight, though, marking the first season opener for KU in the Kansas City Metro since 1947. It's been a happy return to KC. All Jayhawks tonight. Devin Neal, a couple of first half touchdown runs. Starters pretty much just played the first half, and the reserves running the football, leading the clock in that third quarter. Alongside Taylor McCart, Sean Kinney with you as we begin quarter number 4. Ballard with that touch. A lot of contact. The flags fly. He was looking for Moeller again. Jaden Patrick with the contact.
A little bit physical from Jaden Patrick, but I really didn't think the coverage was that bad. Just rewarded a little bit from an underthrown ball.
Pass interference. Defense, number 7. 15-yard penalty from the previous spot. Automatic first down.
Take another look. Inside slot fade again. On the right side of the screen. Now, doesn't get his eyes back around, not in phase. Another look at it. I think it's the right call.
It's 4 penalties now tonight for Lindenwood. Had a couple of 15-yarders on this drive, the targeting and now the interference, and just like that, Kansas first and goal knocking on the doorstep. Johnny Thompson, the running back, he will flank Ballard to his left. Moeller in motion. Ballard rolls right, throws back of the end zone.
Like they brought Bryce Cahoon across on that over route again. Thought Cole Ballard had an opportunity on that back line.
Second and goal for Ballard. They'll go right up the gut with it. Push for 3 yards for Johnny Thompson.
You mentioned Harry Stewart as well. This running back room, similar to the receiver room as well, just an embarrassment of riches, right? It feels like every single guy that Kansas rolls in right now from a skill position perspective, there's teams all over the country that you could argue some of these guys would be the starters at some of these schools.
Jalen Daniels, his buddy Luke Grimm, having some fun on the Jayhawks sideline. Third down and goal. On that read option, Ballard is going to keep it, and a good open field tackle is made by Jaden Johnson, the junior, the Former Thundering Herd from Marshall safety, able to bring down the big quarterback, setting up a 4th down.
Surprised a little bit to see this offensive unit on the field, but at this point in the game for both sides, this is all about getting reps. Right, your young guys are in the game. These are situations that if you've got, especially your backup quarterback in Cole Ballard, how many 4th down opportunities do you have if they can convert here for this 4th and goal opportunity?
Fourth down throw, just shy of the goal line, but the final few steps for the touchdown. Doug Emilion finds the end zone.
Really nice patience from Cole Ballard on this throw. It's that pick play out to the field that we saw earlier. Doug Emilion works back to the ball as well, and a good accurate throw from Cole Ballard. Starts to fade away a little bit, patient enough to throw it on time to the outside, and a good job in the open field by Doug Emilion to get in the end zone.
11 plays, 90 yards. Drive orchestrated by Ballard. Emilion in his 3rd year here at Kansas. Minnesota transfer. Grew up all the way down in Broward County, Florida. He's found his way to Kansas City. Touchdown for the Jayhawks. They up the ante. Just a few moments ago, Cole Ballard with his 2nd career touchdown pass, wearing number 15, born on the 15th, so he said he's always had that number from a young age, and he has looked good in this 2nd half with Kansas in control, getting some reps. Redshirt freshman. All smiles for the Jayhawks. And a rare return for the first time tonight as a flag flies. Lindenwood will take it out to the 18. Another flag thrown in as well. Andre all over. Ronnie Thomas, as it stands right now, a return of 13 yards. Let's wait and see what the penalties are all about.
During the return, illegal block in the back, receiving team, number 25. Half the distance from goal, 1st down.
An exciting new era of college football with the introduction of the 12-team college football playoff. The 5 highest ranked conference champions, and then they'll take the next 7 highest ranked teams, and then they seed them 1 through 12. The 4 highest ranked conference champs, they'll be seeded 1 through 4. They get the benefit of a 1st round bye. Then you have the remaining 8 teams with those 1st round games, an opportunity for the higher seeds to play on their home turf.
I think it's great for college football. You're going to get more meaningful football in the month of November, more teams with an opportunity late in the year.
So where does Kansas stack in all of this? New 12-team format. And our ESPN All-State Playoff predictor has him at 24% right now, which is currently the highest in a stacked Big 12.
Yeah, I really like their odds, and a huge part of it is I think the schedule lines up really well for Kansas. We've talked all about the stars on this team and the returning production, but really the biggest test on this schedule, they have to go to Kansas State in the middle of the year, but a pretty favorable conference schedule and non-conference schedule.
Don't you get the feeling with the parity and the experience in this conference that this is a year where the Big 12 champion might have a couple of losses?
Yeah, no, there's no doubt, and I think that's been something in the past for the Big 12 that if you're a Big 12 fan, you're always a little worried about that, right? That you get to the end of the year, and in this new format, you're trying to make sure that you get your best on best, obviously, but that they arrive at the conference championship with just a loss or two, give you those odds of getting an at-large bid as well.
3rd down and taking off and running and spinning his way to 1st down yardage is Nate Lance.
I think Kansas in this conference, along with Utah, Oklahoma State, we'll see them on Saturday. There's a clear separation to me. Really the 4 at the top I would cluster together, even ahead of Arizona to me. But this is going to be a really fun conference down the stretch, and couple key matchups early in conference play as well.
We'll learn a lot about West Virginia this weekend when they take on Penn State. Abe Hare, the catch, the tight end, has been active tonight up near the 30-yard line. Lindenwood, part of the FCS. You know, we talk playoffs, and the FCS has had it figured out for a while. They have a tremendous postseason with their 24-team playoff format and the excitement that the month of December brings at the FCS level, and the selection show on Sundays as they are unveiled with the pairings. Certainly a great model to follow. Now, the Lions won't be eligible for that postseason fun until the 2026-2027 year.
I think by that point, Lindenwood will be in a position, talk about building up their roster. 17 transfers have come in for Lindenwood this season, and a number of them we've seen featured tonight to continue to build that depth and build towards, obviously, 2026, like you mentioned, when they'll be eligible for the FCS playoffs.
And that was the focus this offseason, as Glantz throws a dart, incomplete, broken up on the play, but a flag is down. A little bit premature with that contact.
Like the freshman Jalen Todd getting his first action of the game, got there a hair early.
Pass interference, defense, number 22.
Just the second penalty on the night for Kansas.
Jalen Todd is another guy this defensive staff really high on. Came in early, was limited some, banged up a little bit in camp, but they said really benefited from being on campus since January, and is a guy that maybe they didn't expect to be in the 2 deep, but picked things up so well and is bought in, and is somebody that they think adds depth to that cornerback room.
High floater on that screen, and Jones makes the catch, but Lindenwood just can't break up those screens. They've been close on a couple of occasions, and shoestring tackles, literally in this case, with Jones.
Well, Tristan Fletcher hasn't missed a beat with J.B. Brown, Cornell Williard, Taiwan Berryhill all setting the example. And just when you thought Cortez Jones able to break one, he runs out of real estate with Tristan Fletcher closing down on him.
Second down and 5, and a little bit of a seam opens up. This will be very close to a first down. Looks like they're going to have enough. Steve Hall, the ball carrier. You talk about the depth, and that was an area of focus this offseason for Lindenwood. They were just shattered by injuries a season ago. They went through 23 surgeries last year. They had players that were forced to play out of position just because of that depth. As you make that move up to the FCS level, you already starting a little bit under the gun, and then you factor in the injuries. And Jed Stuger told us he's never had a season like that in his double-digit plus years of coaching.
Sean, I had to go back and look at the notes again. When he said 23 surgeries, you're talking almost a quarter of your roster at some point, either during the season or afterwards, had to be operated on. It's challenges that every team deals with, injuries, but that was something certainly that they dealt with last year, and they talked about. They were open and honest. We had to overhaul our roster in some spots to try and get the bigger bodies and add depth in those key positions, especially up front.
The RPO there, and you see Glantz frustrated. He wanted his receiver to start working his way upfield a little bit more with Ronnie Thomas.
Gone to that a couple times on the zone read. RPO, or if the quarterback pulls it, you've got the bubble out to the right with Ronnie Thomas. Really had something working there, but thought a little inaccurate throw from Nate Glantz. But he's had his flashes tonight as well, especially on those corner routes. I think there are pieces certainly for Lindenwood as they move into that Big South and Ohio Valley Conference play. Some pieces for the Lions to be excited about, certainly.
Yeah, I think they found their guy at quarterback that they're hoping can take them to that next level. Little swing pass, Steve Hall the catch, and then yards after catch, and he'll pick up the first down.
It's another example from Nate Glantz. Knows where to go with the football, and there's been a number of times that it's been on time and accurate, but Kansas has just done such a nice job of rallying to the football that there hasn't been a yards after catch. But I felt like for most of the game, Nate Glantz at a minimum has known where to go with the football, and that's something you certainly can build on moving forward.
Offensive coordinator Dusty Havorka told us the moment he showed up, he was just watching film 24/7, would always invite the coaches in to watch film with him. He wanted to learn, wanted to know this system, and they've added some weapons like Steve Hall, and this is an offense that should have some success in the Big South Ohio Valley Conference this year.
Another guy to be excited about in Steve Hall as a freshman. We've seen him in that backup role behind Cortez Jones, but I think that's a running back spot. The brightest spots of this game for Lindenwood have been when they've been able to run the football effectively, and I do think they've found something in Steve Hall as well.
They're expecting to get Robert Giamo, their top rusher from a season ago, back next week as well. Nowhere to go that time. Nate Glantz swallowed up in the backfield. Again, it's Tristan Fletcher, the first one to greet him.
Probably a pull read. He's reading this out to the field. I think if you hand that off, Cortez Jones with room to run, but we've seen all night Nate Glantz not afraid to get in the mix in the quarterback run game.
Fletcher was a guy coming out of Trinity Valley Community College back in the summer of 22. Looked like he was going to head to Sam Houston. Kansas was able to get him to flip his commit. Now he is year 3 for KU. 3rd down and 5. Glantz wanting to set the screen up. Now floats right, trying to buy some time. Throws it toward the end zone, but just no room to go. Out of bounds, looking for John Anthony.
Get John Anthony to pull back towards that front pylon. Ran out of real estate. We'll get our first look at Logan Seibert. See if Lindenwood can break the shutout.
Lions trying to get some late points. This will be a 34-yard field goal. Seibert last year 8 of 13, 28 of 40 for his career. The veteran kicker, smack dab the center of this pitch, and the kick is on the way, and it is perfect. And Lindenwood is on the board. Seibert good from 34 yards out. The Lions get some points late here from Kansas City. Kansas leading comfortably 48-3, 6:12 to go here in the 4th quarter. Week 1 of the 2024 Big 12 college football season continues this Saturday on ESPN+. 6 games this Saturday. The action starts at 2 o'clock Eastern in Stillwater. That's where our crew will be as Oklahoma State hosts the 2-time defending champs from South Dakota State. And then at 2:30, Towson and Cincinnati will kick off. Action continues under the lights. UT Martin taking on number 18 Kansas State. Baylor hosts Tarleton State. Texas Tech hosts in-state Abilene Christian, while wrap up the night at Southern Illinois at BYU, 8 o'clock Eastern. It's a week 1 of college football. 6 games exclusively on ESPN+. Looking forward to the quick turnaround to Stillwater and South Dakota State, Oklahoma State this Saturday from Boone Pickens. Jayhawks rolling. We'll be back with more from Kansas City right after this. 3rd quarterback of the night for Kansas will be Mikey Pauley, wearing number 14. Pauley, 6'5", 220-pound redshirt sophomore nearby Overland Park, Kansas. Keep in mind too, Taylor, Isaiah Marshall is one of those players that the Jayhawks are certainly so excited about his future. The highly sought after recruit, the freshman out of the state of Michigan, Southfield, Michigan, but it's Pauley to bring this one home tonight.
Pauley, the Nebraska transfer, baseball background as well, right down the road in Overland Park. I'm sure he's got quite a bit of friends and family in the crowd tonight.
He's got a big one right in our own truck.
That's
cheering
right.
him on.
That's right.
2nd down from the 31. just joining us, Kansas led 7-0 after the first quarter, and then they just dropped the bombs on Lindenwood in that second stanza. It's been all reserves here in the second half. Jalen Daniels played the entire first half, 9 of 15 tonight. Daniels' numbers for 148 yards. Lance Leipold watched his offense commit a couple of early turnovers, kind of a sluggish first quarter, but they got it all rolling, and you see to the tune of 500 yards tonight, over 300 yards on the ground.
And for Kansas, really, there's coaching points from that first half that they will be able to go in tomorrow when they go back and look at that tape and have something to focus on. Big road trip for them coming up next week at Illinois.
Coming into this season opener with Kansas, you were anxious to see how the front lines on both sides of the football would respond. Defensively, Jeremy Robinson, Dean Miller, each with a sack, trying to replace the production that Austin Booker delivered a season ago. And honestly, when you look at Kansas the last couple of years, they went into the portal twice, have found a player that has delivered, and then left for the NFL. So they've been able to get players through the portal. Now with Robinson and Miller able to have success tonight, we'll see if that can carry over against the physical nature that Illinois is going to bring next week and the challenges that they'll provide.
Good carry from the freshman Harry Stewart III, product of Frisco Centennial. And for Kansas on the offensive line especially, they were obviously bigger, more physical, as they should have been over Lindenwood. But the thing that stood out to me on the offensive side seemed to be assignment sound, both in run blocking and in protection. You never saw a free rusher. You didn't ever really feel like they were out of place. Good, clean football on the offensive side, and physical as well, which you always expect from a Jeff Grimes offense. I thought, again, if you just take away those 2 turnovers, this was a pretty flawless night from the Jayhawks, really on both sides of the ball.
Third down, Pauly is going to keep it, and second effort will get a first down as he is twisted ahead to the 48. Yeah, you mentioned that offensive line. This is a unit that lost 3 starters, 3 really good starters. Their center, Mike Nowitzki, who's been the only center in the Leipold area at Kansas. See the replacement for him, Bryce Foster. He was solid in his first start, wearing the KU colors, coming over from Texas A&M. They lost Dominic Hooney to the NFL, the 3rd round selection to the 49ers, the highest ranked Kansas player to get drafted since 2008. Then Armaj Reed Adams transferring to Texas A&M. So they had 3 big holes to fill this offseason. Jeff Grimes talked about the patient approach this summer with that front, trying to find the players to go in the right positions.
A good tackle by Jacob Waller there. The offensive line, the biggest piece that you just touched on that stood out to me was at the center spot with Bryce Foster. Because when we talked to Jeff Grimes, he mentioned for Mike Nowitzki, that was a guy that had been in this program a long time, and he described him as their alpha. And Bryce Foster stepping in, all that production that he brought over from A&M, that's going to be key for this offense, is having him play well as the season goes along.
2-minute timeout. We'll take a break. Put the finishing touches on this one from Kansas City when we come back. 2 minutes to go to bring this one home on a Thursday night, a hot and muggy night from Kansas City, Kansas. Cutting his way through defenders up to the 41-yard line. Gain of 6 yards. So Taylor, coming into tonight, talking with the coaching staff last night at the meetings, you know, our takeaways from our conversation with Leipold and his assistants. Offensive line, one of the concerns coming in with both Leipold and Grimes, but they both indicated they're starting to look like a Big 12 offensive line. Consistency was mentioned numerous times, 3 times by defensive coordinator Borland, once by Leipold. Happy to have 3 healthy wide receivers. Grimm goes for over 100 yards tonight. Then the cornerbacks getting more detailed work. We haven't talked a lot about that. First year here in Lawrence, DK McDonald coming in with his wealth of NFL experience and really providing Brian and Dotson with that next level instruction, taking a 100 level class all the way up to 400 level.
Well, that's so impactful and important for that corner room with Kobe Bryant and Melo Dotson. And they talked about, look, that's immediate feedback that you could get from DK McDonald, a guy with NFL experience, and being able to develop Kobe Bryant and Melo Dotson, who they both feel like there's a real opportunity not just to be drafted, but to have long, impactful NFL careers. And they've got an embarrassment of riches at corner right now between those two.
Dotson with a pick six. He had 2 of them last year, and he gets 1 tonight. What should be the final play as Paulie is cracked down at the 33-yard line. Rock Chalk Jayhawk will be echoing through Children's Mercy Stadium in a few moments. Kansas kicks off this 2024 season. Year 4 for Lance Leipold, and a 48-3 win over the Lindenwood Lions. Lindenwood playing against their first FBS opponent in their young Division I history. Back with closing comments from Kansas City after this. Kansas getting done what they were expected to do. A tight-knit group of Jayhawks win 48-3 in this season opener.
It is exactly what we expected. We got the superstars, everybody that we expected to come out and play well. And for Kansas, something that you touched on that Jeff Grimes told us, first thing he latched onto, how much these kids love one another and play for one another. And I think just our couple days around this program and watching them tonight, I think you feel that it is a true team. They've got bigger tests ahead of them, but just like you said, Sean, they did exactly what they were supposed to tonight against Lindenwood.
It's off to Champaign next, week 2 for Kansas. The Jayhawks start the season with a bang, 48-3 over Lindenwood. For Taylor McHarg, this is Sean Kinney, our fantastic crew here from Kansas City, saying so long. This has been a presentation of ESPN, the worldwide leader in sports. Good night from KC.